Today we celebrate females, entrepreneurs from all over. Come and check out what we've got in store as we celebrate and have our very first RLabs Women event this evening. So the first person, or the first entrepreneur that will be graduating from cohort 9 is Nikita Mare. Congratulations once again, Nikita Mare. Our second entrepreneur is none other than Carla Weingard.
For this evening is called Woozy the Loop. So, I know we've been sitting, I think, for about an hour now. Now I'm going to ask you to stand up and you're going to have to go and connect.
And opportunities, they tend to come. And sometimes we think that we are not ready. So you sit back, you go, okay, wait, no. Or you pause. No, I must first have this. No, I must first do that. Stop wasting time. It's not coincidence that you guys are in this room today. So don't now sit on the fence and go, oh, okay, no, not today. Done with that.
But Naomi, being from the UK and of course living in Tanzania, I think, just share with us, what was it like? The shift, of course. I think that's really important. I don't know if the ladies want to know that, but for me, being from the UK and working and being so grounded in Tanzania, I mean, I've seen you there, I've seen you at work. You speak the language just like that, it's going, and the culture, and how did you do that?
Honestly, the first year that I lived in Tanzania, I was terrified. And I actually was dreaming about home and waking up, oh my gosh, I'm still here. So I think actually there's a really important lesson here as well, because why am I still in Tanzania? So I spent the first 8 months in a rural school. I was really terrified because everyone was looking at me. It's like quite weird, being the only white person in an African village, and like, in Europe, it's very multicultural, so it's, I know we don't have equality, but at least there's like a bit of understanding. But people pointing at you and shouting and chasing after you and stuff in a friendly way, but it's like a bit daunting. And I was really shaken of like, I don't know why I'm here really, even though I thought it was a good idea. I was teaching maths, and that bit kind of went quite well. But a couple of years later, I was thinking of something to do in my university holiday, and it occurred to me that I should come back to Tanzania. It's like, I've done the hard bit. I didn't speak Swahili, now I speak Swahili, so now I should go back. I've done the hard bit, so now let me get the fruits of it. And I think that's often the thing, isn't it, that we mention in terms of business. Sometimes people stop short. They've done the hard bit, and they stop short just before it's about to get good. And the second time I came, I just had the most amazing time. But I think, it's been since '98, but this time I've lived in Tanzania for 3 years now, and I'm still learning so much every day. And, when you're in Europe, people really are in a rush, and your time is so valuable, and there's that stereotype is so true. And it's taken me, I think, this long to fully appreciate the African spirit of, it's so much more important that we go together. It's so much more important we take that time. Let's sit down, let's work it out. People in Europe don't take that time. And there's a huge lessons, and I think the fact that it took me so many years to learn it just shows maybe how like how different our cultures are, and how much there is to learn. And if you look at what's happening, like in the UK right now, there's a huge crisis of cost of living, there's huge inequality, there's huge frustration, there's big strikes happening. Like, this is not the development that is supposed to have happened, right? So, like, we want to keep all that is so great about African culture and make sure that you get the development that works for everyone, because what Europe has done is not the model that should be followed. So I think, there's so much learning, and it just doesn't stop. Like, I've learned more in these last 3 years probably than all these previous years as well.
Thank you, Naomi. Christina, so in your bio it said you've known RLabs since the beginning. Maybe tell us how that happened, and I'm going to ask you to fast forward to what that looks like now from then, because you're in different positions. You're still involved or working with RLabs, but in different capacities.
Okay, I have to warn you that this is a little bit of a long story, because how that happened was like a series of happy accidents, I think, but like a lot afterwards I realized that I did what most men do when they look at jobs. They're like, I'm not qualified, but let me apply anyway, maybe, like, who knows. So originally my husband and I had a chat where we thought it would be nice to live somewhere else for a while. And then we realized that if it's going to happen through work, it's going to happen through my work. So I started looking, and then this kind of job announcement of a project lead in South Africa came across, and it was on ICT and entrepreneurship and stuff that I have done. But of course it also asked for some development experience and Africa experience, which I had none of at all. Like, I hadn't ever stepped foot on Africa, but I just thought, okay, well, this sounds like fun, let me apply so that maybe I'll at least learn about the process. And somehow, surprisingly, it just went forward, so that the first time I stepped foot in Africa was to move here for 3 years to South Africa to work on a Finnish-funded project, which was to fund ICT for development projects. And that's how we ended up talking to each other, because these guys had a project that needed funding. And in the beginning, I think we were kind of jointly trying to figure out, like, what is this thing? What is it called? How, like, I thought that it sounds like this is a really interesting thing, but I'm not sure that it can be funded, because there isn't really an organization and we don't actually really know what the project is. So, it was quite early. But we worked it out. It was funded, and I think I still have that discussion every now and then with RLabs, like, what exactly are you trying to do? And can you now define to me, like, what is this thing you're trying to do? And we kind of end up in the same situation, that it sounds really good and really valuable and really interesting. I'm not sure I understand completely, and I'm not sure that it's completely defined either, but never mind, let's just go, and things will sort themselves out, I guess, on the way. And that's usually what seems to happen.
Yeah, I think we had a question yesterday in one of our meetings, and I think Marlon raised it, and he said, somebody will stop in like, oh, tell me about RLabs, or what is RLabs? And all the staff was like, no, that's the worst question. Because nobody knows what to say. Yeah, after all these years, but... Genevieve, your role that you currently have, I mean, I know that that's your title and you're really good at that, but I always watch you on social media talking about all the other stuff, the fun stuff that you're busy doing. And I'm always like, is this part of your job or not? Especially the work. And I believe you won an award recently, or nominated for an award, or... Yes. Ah.
So, do you want me to talk about that as well? So, I'm part of, I think there's 50 influential women in South Africa. So that's award. The top 50 for 2023.
50 for 2023.
Yeah.
Nice.
So but I didn't get the award yet. It's only happening in March. So who knows? I'm nominated. So my role at the moment, so we've got, I don't know if you guys know Pharma. It's not big pharma, it's not mafia pharma. So we're a generic company, and we do We create cost-effective medication. So if you guys know Immune, do you know Cardax? Do you know, don't let my boss hear me now. Can't remember the other products. But anyway, Flowmist, like if you've got the nasal issues. So we've got manufacturing sites all over Africa, and we've got distribution sites. And my role is to make sure, one, that there's connectivity. So I've got a team all over Africa that makes sure that the data is there, as well as the telephone works and all the machines that they need to use to manufacture the product, to do the reporting. My job is to make sure that that's all working. And then we've got a really amazing project now that we're busy with. So my job is also to make life easy for the people in our business. So we are governed by SAHPRA, so it's like the FDA, it's like the governing body that makes sure that the medication you make is decent and it's not going to kill people. So we've got something called SAHPRA, and we have to go through 2 years of processing and making sure that they approve it. It takes us 29 days to work through a 5,000-page dossier. So each of our pharmacists and doctors, it takes them 29 days. But because we've got artificial intelligence, my team and I built a system that they can do it in 6 hours. So the machine actually reads for them. Yeah. So that's one of our big items. So the machine reads the document, the 5,000-page document, and gives them. Do you guys know what ChatGPT is? Yes. We went a long way. I wish we waited. So we went to go and build it, and we could have just bloody used ChatGPT. But anyway, so that's basically my job, to make life easier for the rest of my colleagues. Yeah. But the fun stuff is what I do as well. So we've got an amazing foundation. We've got lots of really good, because our ethos is caring for life. So we've even got a portion where we've got nurses who've retired, and because there's not our healthcare system is not obviously where it should be, so we take these nurses, we give them, these containers that you see at the harbor. So we set these containers up in the townships like Halicha, Guguletu, Mitchell's Plain, and we tell the nurses, you can go and you can charge maybe 200 Rand, because doctors usually charge 500, 600 Rand consultation. They can still get money, and we make this available for them. So there's a lot of good work that's also happening, and that's the fun stuff.
We actually have a medical doctor in the house, Dr. Chanel. So I think she will.
Some doctors, can I chat to you? Let's chat. Let's network.
See how it all happens. Genevieve, just the other fun stuff. Like you have an NGO, right? You the real stuff.
Don't follow me on Instagram. You will go like. No, guys. Firstly, I'm Jenny from the block. So I work hard, but I play hard. Sometimes I forget that I need to block my Instagram from people because they're like, is this a corporate girl? I'm still Jenny from the block. So I've got an NPO that I'm a co-founder of. So gender-based violence is obviously a big issue. In our country, I've got a beautiful 20-year-old daughter, and I don't want to fear for her life. And I feel like I need to be the change that I want to see. So what we're trying to build, so this is like what I'm trying to do on the side, is build an app that you can do a little risk assessment, whether you are a victim or a perpetrator. And I know people go, why we're helping the perpetrators? We have to fix that as well. So we can't just help the victims. And you basically complete this questionnaire. It will give you a RAG status. Are you in trouble? Red, amber, green, based on what you've answered. And if it's red, we'll tell you, get out now. Here's the resources to help you. Contact them. If it's amber, you might be in trouble, so let's get an escape plan. If it's green, then we'll give you content that we're creating in this app so that you can start engaging with other people in the community. And I feel like if we chat more about it, because, particularly in our neighborhoods, dan slaan die vrou, so the husband is hitting the wife, and then my mother always used to say, it's not, like don't talk about it, it's none of your business. But I feel like if we speak more about it, we are going to have conversations, we're going to bring it to the fore, and that's going to change the conversation. And similarly, if you're the perpetrator and you complete this assessment and you saying that you are very close to hurting someone, that you'll get the red response, and there will be sponsors available to you that you can contact who will talk you down. If it's amber, it will also give you access to, other type of content or even anger management courses. And if it's green, you can also help contribute and engage. So pray for us. We're going to get funding so that we can build this app, and it's going to be free of charge, because I went to someone in government and I was like, if you can have Facebook free, you can have this app free. So we can make it available to all of our communities, and we can actually start changing and stop seeing on Facebook how many people are dying, how many of our women and children are dying.
Thank you. So the panel we have, and I know we a mixed group here, right? We have some social entrepreneurs, we have people that are running NGOs, we have business women, and I think it's important that we realize we are all so different, and our common denominator is that we are women, right? We're from different parts of the world, but we are women, right? The things that we think are so different and would separate us is not even real. It's all just fake and fluff. And Naomi, I know that I really need to get into this money lending business. Maybe explain some of that, and especially like some of the stuff that didn't work. Yeah.
I mean, in our family it goes like this often. So I'll wake up and say, I've had an idea, and my husband goes, oh gosh, not again, And then about 6 or 7 years later, he'll say, that was a really good idea that you had. And the money lending one has stressed him out, I think, quite a lot. But he's just got to the point about 7 years in, as with everything else, he's like, this is actually a really good idea. What he likes about it is that it's pretty edgy, and the fact that most people aren't doing this, and it just puts us a bit like against the norm, but that we're prepared to put ourselves out there. So it started many years ago. A friend of mine in Tanzania, my very close friend, and she was trying to build a house, and I could see there was no way she could borrow the money that she needed. The interest rates were really high, the amount she could borrow was nowhere near what she needed, and the repayment terms were far too short. So I'm like, I'll just take it out of my mortgage in the UK and give it to you. And then it was kind of spiraled from there, and it ramped up a lot in the last 4 or 5 years. And it's been a roller coaster in like really good and bad ways. Obviously, you know the problem with the money lending business. I don't have to spell that out. But what's been really great about it is when people have really been able to do something. So it's called TJ Loans. It's not registered, so I don't know if this is broadcasting. But the idea is, I'll help you achieve your goals, and we'll achieve together. So that's when it works really well. Oh my gosh, the frustrations though when someone is promising you, I'm going to pay you on Thursday, I'm going to pay you on Thursday, and they never call you back, and there's all these stories, and it's just such a waste of time and emotional energy. And I'm like, guys, I'm so broke right now, just give me $2. And it literally gets to the point where I'm chasing out the $2 borrowers, which is completely ridiculous. But no, I think I'm proud of that risk-taking. I lent out $260,000 over the years. Most of it's back. I think we're down to about $15,000. I could really do that if they're good, but to me today I'd be very happy. But yeah, so like what I said to my friend the first time we did it was like, I was afraid it would destroy our friendship, because that's what can happen, can't it? And so I said, I care more about our friendship than the money, so don't mess this up. And she didn't, and for those friends and so on that it's worked really well, it's been great. But for some young people that I support in Iringa, it does mess up the relationship, and that's a real shame, because actually it makes them go underground, and then they can't come, and it's like, I could actually help you with your business as well, but now you're avoiding me. This is silly, like now they can't come into the office, or now they're never going to take my calls. Now I can't use them. I want to use their business, but they won't take my calls, so I can't even be a client of their business. So that's a real shame. And I'm so done with it now, basically. But what I've been thinking about the last few weeks is how can I use that? Because I've been very much on the sharp end of the tough times they face in their businesses. Because it's difficult for me to really understand, because I've been lucky, you know, I've had a good education, I've had good job opportunities, so I didn't really know what it's like. But by kind of suffering from them, their non-repayment, I do have a much better idea of how they see money, how their businesses operate, like really at the sharp end. So I'm thinking about how to use that knowledge to create something. And maybe, because for example, I've got one borrower now who's paying back $1 a day into my M-Pesa, which is working really, really well. And I think there's potential there to think about those kind of young entrepreneurs who can actually do that. They could get credit and they could pay back, you know, on a daily basis. So yeah, watch this space. I don't know if it will lead to something, but it is a headache.
Very cool. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Naomi. Christina, you are looking fabulous this evening. I'm looking at your shoes.
Yeah.
Those are your dancing shoes. So I think you should tell the audience the other stuff that you do.
The other stuff, yeah. Okay, so you know the stereotype that says, like, if you are serious in XYZ, then you should just be doing that. So, and originally I started asking, like, well, who's saying that? And then I decided I don't care who's saying that. I'm not buying it regardless of who is saying that. So when I was in my early 30s and I met my husband who was in his 40s, then we decided that we both liked dance, so we trained together as dance teachers. He's a hunter and he climbs trees with a chainsaw. So he's like the manly type of man, and all of his friends were like, what are you doing learning these Latin bits and shaking your bits and all of that? And just decided that we can be, you know, you don't have to be this or that, you can be this and that. And still something else. Like, we are, one of the kind of fun things about some developments in the world is that we are all living longer, which means we have more life to live. So we don't have to just kind of decide at 19 that this is what I'm going to do, and then I have to stick it out for the next 50 years, regardless of whether I'm interested in something else. So at some point I just decided that I can be a credible engineer and a consultant and a dance teacher, and I've recently, 3-4 years ago, picked up my early love, which was painting and drawing, and now I'm having art exhibitions and educating myself on that, and introducing myself as visual artist, because I also believe that, you know, you pretend you are it until you start believing it, and then you are it.
Okay. I know we are over time, so I'm not even going to say it. I'm not even going to apologize for that right now. But are there any questions to these lovely ladies? Ooh, do we have a mic? You can take this one. Please tell us your name, your business or your project, and who the question is.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Jacqueline Julie. I'm married, a mom of 6, and also I'm an entrepreneur. My business is Excellent Crunches and Home Bakes. So those bakes you ate tonight, that's me. Yeah, thank you. So Naomi, I'd like to ask you a question. So you mentioned that a lot of us stop before the good stuff, you know, when it's hard. So I'm sure there's a lot of us that's in the hard part at the moment. So is there any pointers that you can give us as to how do you know, keep going until you get to the good stuff? Thank you.
Thanks, good question. I mean, I think we've all been through it, haven't we? And Angela, my colleague, and I were talking earlier this evening about, you know, when you face work challenges and it just seems really daunting. I just can't remember the number of times so many times when I thought, oh gosh, I've got no idea what I'm doing. Okay, I better work really hard then to make it work. And I think definitely like with the property business, there's times when everything is going wrong and you're like, I'm just going to sell up, I just don't want to do this anymore. But it does pass, and once it's passed, you look back and think, oh, that was okay, it was just a moment, you know. But I think I guess we should also listen to those moments when it is like just not working. So it's really difficult to know, isn't it? Because sometimes you persevere with something and you should have just given it up years ago. And that may be a time when you've got to listen to your gut and people around you as well and get advice, I think. We had a really interesting discussion. I don't know if you were going to bring us onto this about saying no, women saying no, and I think this fits quite well. I mean, we were saying, yeah, give, and you get so much back. That's what I was saying. And then Christina was reminding us, yeah, but like we give so much until we've got nothing left. And, especially, men, but you will accept everything from us and never say, no, you just take a break. They'll take as much as we can give and more. And it took me 25 years to say to my husband, for goodness sake, like, I need more from you, and like to the point of like, I'm not putting up with this anymore. And it was only when I said that, this is actually very recent, and he's just suddenly got his act together, but I would have put up with it for another 25 years. And so it is good, isn't it, sometimes to say enough. And how do you know when that point was? Because any time in the last 25 years I could have said that, but I thought that was what marriage was, and I thought sacrifice and love and forgiveness and generosity. So like, where is that line? It's just so hard to know, isn't it, when you're in it? So it's probably the same with our businesses. I don't know. It's really hard to judge, isn't it? So, sorry, no clear answer there.
Yes, can I continue? So, one of my friends always says that if it works out, you'll be successful, and if it doesn't work out, you learn. So, I think that's also something that, but like I said, I also believe in saying no, and I think one thing that you should listen to is, am I doing it for myself, or am I doing it because somebody else expects me to do this? And if it's the latter, then you have the right to say no to it. If you're doing it for yourself and it feels like this is really hard, then, use all the people around you, chat to somebody who's done something similar, and, try to figure out, is there something that maybe you can change, or is this just a phase, or what is it that you should do?
Say that line again. If it's something you...
If you're doing it because somebody else expects you to do it, and not because it's what you want to do, then you can let it go.
That's a tweet. Are there any other questions? Oh, there, right at the back.
Hello everyone, I'm Chisme Forte. I'm currently representing RLabs as a staff member, but also I'm representing my business as a family business. And my question is actually for you, Renee. But there's another question that I also want to ask Genevieve after. How do you carry on a legacy or build a legacy amidst adversity, or rather, what's the English word for it? Sometimes your community holds you back because they say no to you at every single door. How do you create a legacy but also drag your community with you? Yes, that's the question that I want to ask you first.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, that threw me completely off. I was so ready for them to be answering. Definitely have more people in your corner. I think we really underrate that. So it could be a family, it could be a sister, it could be a friend, it could be like, make sure you have people in your corner. Don't ever think, I can do this, because then you're going to flop like really quickly. So always make sure you have support. And we talk about it in business, we talk about it everywhere, but like that is something so fundamental. If you're a friend, be a really good friend. If you're a daughter, be a really good daughter. If you're a wife, be a really good wife. If you, whatever it is, just be really good at that, because that is the people that carries you. They might not understand what you're doing, why you're doing it, all that stuff. But having that support counts. And you use the term dragging your community along. Most of the time, I'm dragging me. And so, don't stop. As long as you're moving, small steps, big steps, hops, jumps, skips, dance moves, whatever it is, don't stop. And when you're realizing that, life is bigger than one person, it's bigger than me, there's so much more. I'm just like a little spot, somewhere, and I made a decision long ago that, like, if I'm going to be a small spot, I want to be a really good one, And so, yeah, and we can always just do the best that we can. And sometimes you feel like you're dragging people, but as long as there are people behind you and there's people in front of you, then you know you're in the right place.
I got this job and I was exposed to data, and I was like, oh my gosh. Firstly, a terminal, because I wasn't exposed to computers. And that's when I started like being like a sponge and hanging with people who I see have gone this journey, and it's not easy. And obviously I didn't go study at that age. Only when I got a job did I actually put myself through school. So you almost have to like be so focused on your goal that nothing else matters. Like you meet and you hang on and you hold on to people who have gone before you. And the one thing that all of you guys, because your businesses are doing, some of the things that I've heard, you guys are doing really well. The one thing that I know I won't stop doing is going back and making sure that someone can stand on my shoulders. So I go and speak to these like grade 11s and grade 12s at these schools, and you need to do the self, because even in those spaces you learn so much more than what you thought. And in that way you also change the narrative of people who are coming after you, and you've already got someone whose shoulders you've stood on who's actually finding the way for you. So it's something that I think is really critical, particularly in our community, guys. There's so many things pulling us down. Like there's around every corner there's a reason why you should not invest in Mitchell's Plain. We need to just find that extra reason why you should. So yeah, I hope that answered your question a little bit. Okay.
Christina?
Okay.
Just to add something to this, and maybe to the earlier ones, since we are talking about age, I am 53, and I've learned some things later in life, and one of which is that I have the right to ask for what I need. And people around me, surprisingly enough, can't read my thoughts. So even if I look at my husband really hard and think about what I need him to do, somehow it doesn't like But if I open my mouth and say, it would really help me a lot if you could do this, and this to me. And, the poor chap, most of the time they're like, what do women want? And when you tell them that this is exactly what I want, most of the time they are actually quite happy to do their best at giving to it. But you have to be specific, and the same thing is in your relationships with other people, because actually most people are quite happy to help if they have it in their power and they understand what it is you need. So don't just say, I need help. Say, I need help from somebody to understand exactly how to market baked goods in a market like this where there's this and that. And the person you're talking to might not know, but somebody in their network knows somebody who knows. So put it out there, be specific, use LinkedIn, use Facebook, use whatever, figure out what you want and speak it out in a positive way. And, somebody will respond.
Maybe if I can just add on to that. In our discussion, we were talking about being very clear about what you're asking for. I think sometimes we will, whether it's in our relationships or in our work environment, we will just say, I'm not feeling great, or I want you to help me, but we're not really clear. I need you as my boss, to send me on this course because I want to learn the skill. Very clear, so they can go and they can action it. So if we're not clear, and I think the other thing that, particularly in our communities, we're sometimes very apologetic about who we are. So when we sit in these forums and then we're almost not confident enough to ask for what we want. So exactly what Christina said, you have to, and I've been like that. It's the most weirdest thing in the beginning, because you go in there and you almost think, I don't deserve this. Who do I think I am? But you must stop having those conversations with you. You need to go in there, know your worth, and social media is the most powerful thing. And if used correctly, you can get everywhere. There's so many people. I'm sure my daughter thinks she's an influencer, bless her. But there's so many, but it's just the power of, oh gosh, this is live streaming, and I hope she doesn't see this. Lord have mercy. But it's so powerful, and people are making money, and if you want to get your name and your request out there, you literally just go onto your social media. You can go onto lives, and hashtags is the most important thing. Like if you tag your post with the right hashtags, it will reach the right people, because people search hashtags and your post come up with, that's why people randomly start liking your post and you go like, oh, where did they find me? It's your hashtags. That's like one of the biggest things that you need to do in your social media communication. But yeah, use social media and just, what is the worst that could happen? They could say no, and then we move,
Thank you, ladies. I think we can. Are there any burning questions? We can just put it out there. Nothing burning. I don't want anyone to go have a sleepless night tonight.
Can I add one thing to what Jen was saying, which is so interesting? I read in a book the other day, but it's related to this idea of whether we're worthy or not and our identity, but it was in relationships and thinking about like the patterns that you've seen, particularly from your parents or from like significant caregivers. And actually, if you see in your own relationships those same dynamics playing out, there's something about living the same existence as someone you love, for example, your mother. It's actually very hard. It's almost like cutting a part of that relationship to say, no, I'm going to be happier. I'm not going to tolerate that. In the book it said, you might have this thought, like, who am I to say that I deserve to be happier than my loved one? And actually, that was such a thought-provoking thing, I think, to help us understand our relationships. And I think, a lot of the things we touched on the theme about, like, place and identity and gender and so on, like, who are we as women to be successful? Who are we, but, like, that sense of worthiness, taking up space, fearless women, RLabs women. So I think, it's understanding how much we can be held back by the feeling that we don't deserve it.
Thank you, ladies. As a closing remark from everyone, there's two things you need to tell me. Not me, everyone else, okay? In your quest for world domination, okay, what was one of the things that you feel like, I've dominated this, okay? And the second one is, tell us something weird about yourself. Who wants to, okay, who's the weirdest? Because then clearly you're going to go first.
It's not that weird, but I discovered recently how nice it is to roll your pants really neatly in your drawer. And it's so satisfying. I really recommend it, that feeling of control. When you open your drawer and your pants are all nicely rolled like that. Really recommend it.
And your world domination, like what would that one thing be?
I think maybe because of my businesses, like I don't really have any friends in business. That's the thing. You were talking about like having mentors and so on. Like all of my inspirational women who I work with across Africa are more in social spaces and doing amazing things. But at home, all of my friends are struggling musicians who are penniless. So I'm the only one. And so also it means I can't talk about my business. It's because it's not polite to do that either. But, so I think, when I've like finished a project, I'm like, yes! And, but on the same time, never doing that again. And then within about 2 weeks, I've got another idea and I'm like, yeah, I can do this again. So I think, like in the real estate, I really feel like invincible and take on ever greater risk, which is a bit dangerous. but yeah, but particularly because it feels like a man's world and I don't know women doing this, so.
She's still struggling. Okay. I think one of my world domination moments was when I had started my own business and I was, getting into it and had some clients and started having conversations with people I knew from earlier jobs who were maybe looking for somebody to be in a project or something. And I was approached by somebody who I really had not enjoyed working with, without going into detail, I had to spend a lot of mental energy to just kind of get around of all the things that somehow went wrong in that relationship. And maybe it was just me, because clearly the other person still wanted to work with me. But the moment that I realized that I don't have to, I can just say, sorry, I'm really busy. Can't. Maybe next time. I'm sure you'll find somebody. Bye. I don't have to. I can say no to stuff and things and projects and people who I really know that are wrong for my well-being. And that was just like, okay, I'll do just fine without those things. I'll do fun stuff with nice people, with fun people. And the weird thing about me is that I like food and nice restaurants and wine and all that, but I will also eat really, well, according to other people, I eat weird combinations. So one of my favorite things is sourdough rye bread with just banana on top, and my husband pretty much jokes every time he sees me, but culinary wonders.
Banana on anything.
You should try it.
So I think the world domination is probably when I developed an alter ego. And this is also what helped me in my career. Anytime I felt nervous, then I channeled, like Beyonce's got Sasha Fierce. Yeah, so I've got Lady Jen. And so I become, and it's like I pretend I'm like not myself to get through what I need to get through. I like fake it until I make it. And that got me through a lot of years, and now Lady Jen and Jen are now becoming one person. I think with age, women, listen, I'm on the 4th floor now. I'm in my 40s, but I can tell you, when you get into your 40s, the confidence you get, honey. Oh. So I think that's probably the world dominance, and the crazy, I lost it now, the crazy thing that I do, you guys are going to think I'm weird. So I've got 2 toothbrushes, one for my teeth and one for my tongue.
Thank you, ladies. We're gonna end on that note. Thank you so much.